Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how you doing? How's your mama? How's your family? We back on it. I told you I was grinding. I told you I want to record. I want to drop every day, if not every day. I dropped earlier today. I'm dropping again today. Tomorrow, the media round. Today's Wednesday. The media rounds come out today, so we go do the media rounds. Media round Thursdays. Then Friday, I'm gonna round it out with what I'm thinking betting wise. Saturday, we'll watch the fights together, do our narrative shifts, and then run it back again. Actually, next week is going to be UFC Tampa. It's going to be my first ever UFC card I'm going to. So I'm going to vlog that, of course. That's going to be a great time. And yeah. So vids may slow down around that point because I'm going to be on vacation. But when UFC's rolling, we're rolling. That's how it's going to be. I don't want to overtalk because this video is already 26 minutes long. Ian Gary is ridiculously overhated with blatant lies. By MMA Joey. Original link to the video is down in the description. Let's react like only I can do.
Ian Machado Gary fight week. This Saturday is UFC 310, and in the co-main event, we are getting.
I actually bought UFC Tampa tickets to watch Ian Gary because I'm a huge Ian Gary fan. But I'm still excited. I really like Buck too. So I was kind of torn there. I'm not torn anymore. I hope Buck goes in there and destroys Colby Covington.
Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Ian Machado Gary. And it wouldn't be an Ian Machado Gary fight week without a bunch of pathetic, insecure, weak men, incels of the MMA community hating on Ian Machado Gary by trotting out the same old, tired, regurgitated falsehoods over and over and over again in an attempt to slander Ian Machado Gary. And it really is driving me nuts because Ian Machado Gary is one of the most over-hated fighters on the UFC roster. And I feel like fan sentiment is starting to turn around. But I did a video yesterday breaking down
Shout out to Charles Oliveira for doing that for him.
Interview with Ariel Helwani. And there were some people, the incels of the MMA community, still trotting out those same old tired lies over and over and over again. And some people believe this. And what you have is you have a portion of the community, a bunch of bad faith actors, putting out these narratives to hate on a certain fighter, in this case, Ian Machado Gary. And then you have people who aren't bothered to do the research or find the truth, now thinking that that is reality. So we're going to break it all down this video. We're going to look at an interview that barely got seen from earlier this year with Ian Machado Gary, where he's directly asked about his last name. He's directly asked about his wife's ex-husband.
I want to say
we're going to break down the whole Jeff Neal controversy and the Neil Magny controversy because I know people are going to jump down in the comments. But it is
the interview that he's referring to, I might have watched already. I kind of want to get into it. Oh, he's going with Twitter receipts first. Okay.
Gary's willing to take on all comers. He's willing to fight the boogeyman of the division. Yes. And fans are still giving him grief over nothing and regurgitating bullshit talking points. So we're going to break it all down in this video. But there is sentiment changing. Fan sentiment is changing towards Ian Machado Gary. And I want to start off by showing this clip, because Gary's been posting a lot of content recently on his YouTube channel as well as his Instagram, just with his young son. And I think it's great content. I think it's content that if a lot of people saw, maybe they would rethink basically trashing a fighter and their entire family for no reason. So I want to show this clip that was from Ian Machado Gary's YouTube vlog for his fight camp, him and his son. Let's go.
Come on, dude. Let's go right now. Let's go.
Get in there. Yeah,
so there you go. And there's a bunch more content like that. He's incorporating his young son, which is going to be a narrative, you know, that we talk about a lot in this video about Ian Machado Gary's family, because a lot of fans, majority of the incel, pathetic, weak men of the MMA community continue to bring in his family and his wife and his kids into the whole entire discussion just because they don't like
Joey be turning up, and that's why I like watching Joey. Joey be turning up. He don't hold nothing back. He don't give a fuck.
Him as a fighter, mainly predicated on falsehoods that you shouldn't even care about anyway, but we're going to get into that in a second. But I think this is great content and a great way for Gary to try to grow on a lot of people. And that's why I wanted to make this video. I know a lot of people are going to be pissed off about this video. I know there's going to be a lot of incels who never talked to a woman in their entire life, but I'm turning off this video. I hate Gary.
Look, I'm an Ian Gary fan. I've been an Ian Gary fan since this YouTube channel has started. If you're watching this, you probably fuck with Ian Gary, or you're actually trying to find reasons to go against what I'm saying or Joey's saying and discredit him or call him a cuck or things of that nature. But I'll let Joey keep going.
I want to start off with this, and I can't believe I'm even talking about this, but it has to be talked about because it was one of the main narratives. Essentially, Ian Machado Gary's wife wrote a book years before she even met him called How to Be a Wag. It was a satire book, and it was basically talking about women dating rich athletes. And people turned this into essentially she's a gold digger.
Yeah, like she was
being Gary, a predator. At the time,
it didn't age well. And you can't really be upset for people for assuming that. I mean, it's not good to assume anything, but you can't really be. I mean, dude, you know what I'm saying? Like outside of looking in, it looked like she's a predator, not a predator in that way, but like that was bad.
Married him,
gold digger,
was not like crazy rich. The UFC doesn't even pay that crazy well. And Gary's not even a massive star yet. He's growing his star power. I think he's a big win away from being a decent draw in the UFC, but he's not there quite yet. So it really doesn't make sense that they're hating on her, saying she's a gold digger.
Yeah, unless they're trying to say she saw his potential, and that was good enough for her. Did you read her book and hear that?
Because she's older than.
I don't want to spend too much time on this. I want to get to the interview. This is what I want to do. And I think I have seen this video, this interview before. I've seen it before. He directly asked Ian Gary. He actually did his research very well. I forgot his name, and I feel bad about that, but it was a very great interview. I watched it maybe a week ago, and he directly asked Ian Gary, basically, while providing facts, basically why he took his wife's last name, but he knew already, but he asked him so Ian Gary could say it. And basically, it's a Brazilian tradition, right? And to carry on that last name, to not end his wife's last name. On top of that, he wanted his kid and his stepson to have joint last names so they don't feel like they're separated or not real brothers and things of that nature. And I think that's pretty dope. And the American in me's like, hell no, I'm not taking my girl's last name. And I won't. But, everything ain't American. You know what I'm saying? And I can respect that. And, yeah, that's pretty cool.
The interview I want to look at, I actually featured this on my channel about 9 months ago. But
that's it.
I since more than doubled my subscribers since then, so I want to feature it again. But also, some of these same narratives are being spewed by the incel portion of the MMA community. And not only that, a lot of those guys are bad faith actors, but then you have the people who don't bother researching it and then are regurgitating those same talking points.
Right.
So one of the main talking points is that Ian Machado Gary, where did the Machado come from? Oh, he must have took his ex-wife's or his wife's ex-husband's last name. That could not be further from the truth. And the real explanation for why Gary added Machado to his name, which I can't figure out why a bunch of grown men are worried about another grown man's last name to begin with, but the real reason why he did it is actually admirable, and he breaks it down in this interview. I will link this interview down in the description as well. Check this out. Listen to this.
Business of sharing information. Machado is your wife's maiden name, her father's name, last name.
Her mother's name.
Her mother's last name.
Her mother's name.
So it is Layla's mother's name. It is Layla's maiden name that Gary added to his name. He explains it more in depth here in a second. Because why did he do it?
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of grown men online who watch MMA who were worried about another man's last name. Why did he do it?
Like Joey said. Break it down, Joey.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it from the horse's mouth. Why did he do it?
It's her mother's name. And in Brazil, when Brazilians get married, they usually take the mother and the father's name. So it's a Brazilian thing. Correct. It's a South American thing where they take the same, like Correct. They don't want to lose connections.
It's not even them. I take Spanish. I'm in college. I take Spanish. And my teacher told me that she has her father and her mother's last name. But coming to America, she dropped her mother's and she just goes by Dr. Hall. But her name is her name, her middle name, her father's and her mother's last name. So that's just the American ideology that we have when it comes to that. But it's very, very common, especially in South America.
In their family.
Perfect.
So they take both names. So there's where you go.
Love it. Thank you. See, that's why we're doing it together.
Yeah.
So he explained it, why he added the name, or where the name came from. He didn't explain why yet. And now he explains why he took this last name, which I think is admirable. I think it shows what a good parent he is.
Two, part of your decision to take on your wife, Machado, in your name is so that your son and your stepson could have a joint last name.
Truth is, it's kind of the only reason. Obviously, having the link to Brazil is amazing, and the Brazilian side of my wife's family, which is the amount of Brazilian family she has, is unbelievable. And to be able to call them family, I'm very happy, very proud, very grateful. But the truth is, I only did it because I wanted my son and my stepson to really feel connected.
So if you guys don't know, his wife has a young child from a previous marriage. That child has her maiden name. She then married Gary and took Gary's last name. So now they have a child together. She's changed her name. So now none of them have a name in common with Gary's young stepson. So they decided, you know what, let's just add Machado to everyone's name. So that way this son feels connected to the family and isn't alienated and has the same last name as his brother. And he explains it more here. I mean, this is admirable.
It is.
I didn't want them going through life with two separate surnames. I feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect. And if you guys want to be brothers, I want to make sure that you guys have that same connection. That was the main reason for me.
And
how can you not applaud that? He is looking out for his young stepson. He doesn't want him to feel alienated and not part of the family, because now all of a sudden nobody has the same name as him. So they said, oh, well, let's just add Machado to everyone's name. And somehow this loving thing that Gary did for his stepchild,
the Christmas tree in the back,
to have a good relationship with his stepchild,
nice tree,
and to ensure the brothers, the young brothers, had the same last name, somehow that is used against him. People were like, he took the wife's ex-husband's last name. That must mean he's a cuck. That must mean he's a cuck, which is the dumbest narrative, by the way. A lot of these people who say that, oh, Gary's a cuck. Gary's a cuck. He would take their woman, okay? He would take their woman. They're just an embarrassment. They're mad that Gary's an elite level athlete who has a hot wife and has a nice family, and he treats his family well, and he loves his wife, and he talks highly of his wife. So that means he's a pussy. That's essentially what they try to say, which couldn't be further from the truth. But the next clip we're going to take a look at is where he's asked about the nutritionist, because the other narrative, which we talked about earlier today, was, oh, the ex-husband lived.
This part was a little, ooh. It's admirable. I wonder if Joey would do the same. We're gonna let him talk, but it's admirable. It is, but I'm not gonna be training, busting my ass, or doing this interview with this guy right now while my wife and her ex-husband is at Disney World with their son and my son. I don't think I would do that. In his shoes, maybe. I mean, you know, but like, I guess that's that American in me. But like, no, I'm not judging that at all, though. Like, I like the message behind it. You don't want to be what's stopping a father from having a relationship with his son. Just like you wouldn't want any man, if something were to happen with him and Layla, to be in the way of him and his son. That's just silly. So, but going on Disney World trip, bro, I don't know.
Lives with them, and he's his nutritionist, which is actually true. He is his nutritionist. But let's hear why he is Ian Machado Gary's nutritionist. Let's hear that, because believe it or not, that's admirable as well. Listen to this.
In that same regard, he is a professional in one regard. He's also the father of my wife's son. Mm-hmm. And I never want to be a wedge between a father and a son. I never want that in my conscience. Yeah.
There's more. There's more. Oh my God. Gary wants his young stepson to have a good relationship with his biological father. He wants his wife to have a good co-parenting relationship with her other son's father. Oh, sounds perfect to me. But why is he his nutritionist? Why? Right? He doesn't want to be a wedge. So why is that? Because he wants to travel with him. Listen to this.
So I know that we're going on this adventure to travel the world. Hey, dude, want to travel the world? Be my nutritionist, and we can all do this together. We can. You can come and see your son whenever you want. You guys can be there. The two of them are going to Disney this morning.
That's sick.
Do you know what I mean? And that's the energy I have. I want to be a good human. I want to be a good man. And I never want to be a wedge between a father and a son, because I know if someone was to be a wedge between me and my son, I'd be livid.
Think about that. The ex-husband is an elite nutritionist that Gary pays when he's traveling the world on training camps. They don't live together. They don't stay together. But because Gary wants his stepson to be with them. And therefore, if his stepson is with them, with his mother, he doesn't want the dad to have to be away from his son. So he's like, oh, well, why don't you be my nutritionist? Because we're good at co-parenting together anyway. You know, for some reason, the incel portion of the MMA community who have never had a relationship with a woman don't understand that you can be secure in yourself and say, oh, well, they had a relationship years ago. They're divorced now. They had a son together. Oh my God, they fucked 15 years ago. Oh my God, what am I ever going to do? They could still be good co-parents. And he doesn't want to take a son away from his father, and he wants his stepson to be there with his mother. He doesn't want to split up a family.
He's a grown adult.
Why not bring him along? Okay, he doesn't have to live there. He doesn't live with them, but he travels with them and is Ian Machado Gary's nutritionist. Also, he can travel the world and be with his son, his biological son, aka Ian Machado Gary's stepson. I don't understand how people aren't applauding this. This is a more than perfect answer, and you shouldn't care anyway. But somehow this makes him a cuck. Makes no sense. And what's so funny is it makes him a cuck, right? Could you imagine if Gary, I know this doesn't really make sense in the grand scheme of things, but can you imagine if Gary was the ex-husband and he was preparing meals for the new husband and traveling with him? He'd be, you know, in the MMA community, if he was still a fighter, I know that doesn't make any sense, but just hear me out. The fans would still say he was a cuck. Oh, you're flying around with your ex-wife's new husband and you're cooking him meals?
Right.
You must be a cuck. So there's no way he would win here. There's no way he would win here. But he doesn't want to split up a relationship between a father and a son.
Good video, Joey. I cut off the end because people aren't really talking about that. If you're talking about that, I mean, come on now. Basically, in the video was about Neil Magny. And, you know, he was criticizing him about whooping his child or whatever, right? And basically, they're saying Ian Gary tried to get Neil Magny's kids taken away from him. It just doesn't work like that. Ian Gary's not a partner of Neil Magny. He has nothing to do with that son or the son's life. He can't just say this guy whoops his son, or he should never put his fucking hands on the son or beat his son. A judge is gonna play that in court and say, yep, he's guilty. Give me your kid. It just does not work like that. So I didn't even want to touch on that. You got more patience than I do with that, Joey. But great video. Get on down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Is Ian Gary a CUCK? If he is, you're just an idiot, and I'm gonna assume you're trolling. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, share this to somebody. You ain't gotta go home. Just gotta get out of here, man. I love y'all, man.